Tell me about. Actually, let's start with something really simple. Like, how did you get discovered for the show?
I was the way I got discovered by Lauren Michaels for Saturday Night Live is I was doing stand up, and so I knew Sandler and Spade from stand up, and then they told their boss Lauren about me, and he kind of takes people's words for stuff. So then he called me, said talk to me and stuff, and I said, yeah, man, I'd like to do that job.
And what was it like? Did you? Were you sort of? I mean, obviously, it's financially it was great. It's a good platform, but did you kind of buy? Like, were you into the myth of it? Like, did you love it when you were younger?
Yes, I grew up on it because I think I was I think I was 13 when the first show was on. And I remember seeing the first show because I think George Carlin was the host. So I was, and it was like the only two new things I remember when I was young was Letterman and Saturday Night Live. That was different than all the rest of the TV. Was all sort of old for old people,
Mhm.
kind of corny. And so yeah, I wasn't. But I was just wanted to do stand up. It wasn't like I was aiming towards Saturday Night Live. And even when Lauren like called me, he said like you got to do two, write two sketches, do two characters and two impressions. And then I said I can't do any of that, you know. So I think he just liked me that I was stupid, and I was from Canada. I talked to him about being in Canada. I remember he had a show in Canada when I was a kid. The Hart and Lauren, Hart Pomerantz, and he were a comedy team.
Mhm.
They did a show when I was a little boy, and I remember that because it was sort of like the precursor to Saturday Night Live. It was sort of super cool compared to Wayne and Schuster. So he liked that I remember that he liked that I liked that, and then I think he just got a kick out of the fact that I knew if I did anything in terms of trying to do a character or I would be dead. So I knew my best hope was just to say I couldn't.
So you didn't do anything for your like. What did you do for your
Nothing.
audition?
Nothing. I didn't do an audition.
And so, can you describe like what was your first day like on the show? Do you remember your first day?
My first day on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, working not the first
Yeah.
show, but the first day that you were.
The first day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I showed up. This happens a lot at Saturday Night Live. I showed up the first day and no one was there. And I just sat in a
Because it was too cold or
couch.
something.
Yeah,
What time did you show up?
well, like 8 in the morning or something. I thought like that's when jobs started. I didn't know. So then no one was there forever. Like, and finally people started like shambling in at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and I was already finishing my day, and that's what I remember about the first day, just being all alone. But it's cool because I just went through everything, rifled through people's stuff and looked at old tapes and went in Lauren's office and had a shower.
Yeah. There was a shower there. So.
Yeah, Lauren has a shower in his office. I think only he and I have ever used it.
So what was the first sketch that you ever got on, or what was the first written material that you ever got on the show?
I wrote a sketch for the first show because Burt Reynolds had just was on Larry King Live and was kind of famous at the time that because he was in a contentious divorce with Lonnie Anderson, and he was wearing this crazy purple suit on Larry King Live, and he announced, "I will, Lonnie Anderson is lying, and I will get her on this show with you, Larry, and we'll both take truth serum." And I was like, "Truth serum? What? Is that even a real thing?" So it was so funny. And then so I wrote a sketch where they both drank like from beakers of truth serum. And Lauren did not care for it. It opened the show. It was like a big hit at the table. What's his name did Burt Reynolds? Phil Hartman.
Oh wow.
It was Phil Hartman and Jan Hooks. And it just the next week, Lauren like pointed to it as the example of what we should not be doing on the show. He said it was just the, he calls things Carol Burnettish, which is the ultimate insult. He said it was just the most Carol Burnettish type of sketch. But I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know. And he let me do it. It got all the way to the air. He chose it and he put it on first. Not my fault.
Do you think it's weird? I think people have a weird sense of what, because it's he's such a personality. I think people have a weird sense of how much control he has. At the time when you were working there, what? Because it's he didn't like that sketch and yet it still was first. How much control did he actually have in terms of the actual shaping of the show?
Absolute control. He had absolute control over everything the entire time I was there, and the entire time I ever remember him, except for one thing. I think in the history of the show, he didn't have control over when I did Weekend Update. That's the only thing that Lorne didn't have any control over.
And did it but at the same time, it seems like the way that the show's worked, or what has made it work at different times, is that he's allowed different kinds of comedy to be on the show. So it's not it's just going with his own taste, I guess, right?
He's amazing that way, yeah. He's told me, I don't get that guy, but and he allows comedy that he even doesn't like to be on the show. And I remember being mad at him, going, "Come on, Lorne, what the fuck are you doing? Why is all this dancing and singing and shit? It's supposed to be, this is a comedy show." And then he's told me, he goes, "No, it's not a comedy show. This is a variety show." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know." I thought it was a comedy show. But he said, "I think if you could sing or dance, you'd think differently." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess he's right."
The show itself started with it started at its beginnings were that it was doing something very different on TV. Did you feel a sense of it had lost interest in pushing boundaries or something at the time you were there?
At the time, yes, because I would always write sketches that would be rejected out of hand, and I would go, "Why? Controversial." And I was like, "Well, I thought that's what we did. I thought that's what Saturday Night Live was, But I was kind of living in the past. But then when we got Update, I went a little crazy. Because I had the freedom, and I engineered it all so that I got Downey, because I knew if I had Downey, I'd have a lot of power behind me. Okay.
Emailed me and said, "I should ask you about Rodney Dangerfield. When he was on the show, you had some experience with him." Can you tell me that story?
Rodney came on the show to do Update. Sometimes Lorne would just go, "Oh, Rodney Dangerfield is here," and you go, "We don't know. How do we use him? It'd be hard to use him on Update." Yeah. So then Jim had this idea, Jim Downey, where I would go, he would go, "I tell you, I got no respect," do a joke, and then I go, "That seems funny. Yeah, Rodney, get any respect? What about your kids? And they must give you respect, Yeah. You're doing good." My kids, they don't give me respect. Do a few more jokes, I go, "That seems hard to believe. What about, certainly, if you went to a bar, a bartender would give you respect, right?" You go, "I tell you, dude." I go, "This is atrocious," But anyways, Rodney's like, "What the fuck?" He didn't understand any of it. He's like, "Why? Does this motherfucker know I don't get no respect?" So, anyways, you have to do the show at 8:30, and then the dress rehearsal, and then at 11:30, So he had to get there real early, and he said, "Norm, I gotta talk to you." I was like, "What?" He says, "Why the fuck?" He goes, "I know how to do my jokes. Why can't I just leave and come back at midnight?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know, Rodney. You have to do the dress rehearsal. They make us do the dress rehearsals." He goes, "I know my." He goes, "I know my fucking act. I've done it a million times." I go, "Yeah, I know. I don't know what." So then he goes, then he said, I tell you, we were all alone, you know, and Rodney was like my hero and stuff. And he goes, I tell you, kid, it's all waiting, you know. He goes, just fucking waiting. Just, you know. He goes, you do TV, you just sit in a room and you wait all the time, you know. He goes, the same with movies. You just sit in a trailer and you wait the whole fucking time. He goes, that's no life, you know. He goes, oh, you know, all there is stand-up. He goes, oh, the rest of it's all shit, you know. Movies are shit, TV's shit, you know. He goes, always remember, kid, it's just stand-up. So it's very, like, moving and everything. And then he goes, he pauses, and then he goes, stand-up is shit. You know? And so then I was staring at him all alone in a room, and after he's told me everything in the world is shit. But that was Rodney, man. The heaviness, that's what I always say. Oh, the heaviness, Norm. The heaviness, you know.
How old? He would have been really old at that time.
Yeah, I guess the thing with Rodney is he didn't make it till he was like 50 or something, so he didn't care for that. You know, he didn't like all the other people getting the fruits of show business, which to him were just drugs and women. You know, he came from that era where it was like, broads, I tell you, booze, you know. So he didn't like that he had to wait till he was older to get that.
So okay, so you start working on Weekend Update, you and Downey. Tell me about what did you learn about writing from that experience? Like you guys were. Was it pretty much just the two of you at a certain point?
Yeah, me and Dan. Well, we decided like very early on. Like I was like, let's just. Because I was like, I don't like jokes that are clever. I was telling him, I said, I don't like innuendos, like are my least favorite types of jokes. I'd rather just say the thing, you know. And I was saying like, you know, they always make innuendo so it'll be palatable, so old ladies can like snicker at it. And I go, why not just say the thing outright, you know? And he was like, oh, that's interesting. And then he knew this band, The Clash, that he really liked. He was like, you mean like The Clash? I'm like, I don't know what that means. But you like just jokes, like stripped down jokes. So then he played The Clash for me. I go, oh, I understand. Yes, it's like that. Like I listen to outlaw country, so I understood it was the same kind of idea. It was just strip it down to its essence, use as few words as possible, and then just be preposterously blunt about things rather than clever in any way.
Our top story tonight. The nation is still reeling from Thursday's bombshell announcement that Lisa Marie Presley has filed for divorce from Michael Jackson. According to friends, the two were never a good match. She's more of a stay-at-home type, and he's more of a homosexual pedophile.
So we decided to do that, and because we really wanted to do something different, because there were so many monologues, and then I also wanted to do a lot of non sequiturs and stuff also. So we very quickly had the idea of anti-pandering, you know, where the audience was sort of our enemy, you know, the studio audience, or at least not complicit in the whole thing, like they sometimes would be for the rest of the show. So I think, you know, Update suddenly became sort of like, didn't seem like the rest of the show, you know, it seemed like a thing within the show that wasn't like the rest of the show that you were watching, you know. So people either liked that or they disliked it. I don't know. And but that was the original. That was the origin of the kind of idea behind Update. You know, since then I've seen jokes that we sort of made up, because I was always like, let's think of new ways to say jokes that haven't been done before. Since then I've seen that done, like in mainstream, and nobody really seems to care anymore. But at the time, like, confrontational to the audience.
I was a kid, right? So I would have been like 10, 11.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But it was thrilling, right? Like for me, it was like very thrilling.
Oh, that's cool.
Very visceral almost. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's cool. That's what we were going for. We were trying to like go over the studio audience's head and to the people at home, kind of. Because I was always saying to Downey, I like watching stuff like, especially Letterman, like, where it seems like me and him got it and nobody else did. You know what I mean? Like, kind of thing. Like, I was like, I don't care if nobody's laughing, Dave. I like it, you know, kind of idea.
And why do you think that you guys were allowed, like, why do you think that you two were allowed to sort of have that kind of freedom and be so distinct from the rest of the show?
We sort of had the freedom because I was willing to walk away, you know. Because Jim Downey told me early on, he was like, as soon as I got Update, he goes, you got to be careful with Update, because he goes, I've known very funny people whom Update has shown to be unfunny, you know. They seem unfunny, even though they aren't, you know. And he said, so you got to be careful about that. So I was like, okay, well, I want to, since I'm alone here talking to the camera, you know, doing jokes, I sort of don't want to take anybody's direction, because it's my life, you know. It's my livelihood. It's me with my own name saying things. So I don't want anybody else's input on what I should say as a joke. It's completely different than a sketch or anything like that, you know. I mean,
and Lauren trusted you. But anyways, he trusted you to do it.
Yeah, Lauren was good to us. He was. I don't know if he was ever, you know, a really big fan of Update the way it was under Jim, not me. But he knew that, like you were saying earlier, like even if he doesn't like something, he'll go with it. He knew that Update was gathering momentum at that time. It was certainly at least like a niche, and at some times in the show, it was the strongest thing in the show, you know. So he couldn't ignore it, you know. But he did not like not being in control of it. I know that.
Really, he told you that?
And the rest, no, he never told me. But the rest of the way it used to work on Update is everybody would throw in jokes on Saturday. They'd kind of write it on Saturday, and they'd all sit around a big table and write Update, you know. While they ate, and when I went there, I was like, well, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to start writing Update on Monday, you know, and just write all day, every day. So we, you know, cordoned ourselves off into one room and just did that and said, you know, see you Saturday to the rest of the cast and crew. So the crew didn't take care, but I mean, to the rest of the cast, which, you know, I can see looking back, maybe they didn't like that so much.
Yeah. But you felt like, was there a moment on Weekend Update that you felt was sort of like, that you look back on as like, I'm really glad we did that? That's the thing that you're sort of really proud of?
I liked, you know, we would do a thing where the punchline would be like, Michael Jackson is a homosexual pedophile, something like that. I liked that. I remember Lauren going like, you don't want Michael Jackson to sue you. And I said, oh yeah, that would be awesome. That would be the fucking coolest thing if Michael Jackson sued me. But I like that, you know. I like just saying things like outright that would sort of get gasps, sometimes audible gasps I could hear from the audience. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's cool.
And then I guess like when did you sort of realize that it became a problem? Like, and you know, before you get fired, were you aware, and but you still continue to do your own thing? Like, what is it? Was it just that you decided I don't care, I'm not going to change my style or whatever? Like what?
Yeah. Well, they told me in many different ways. Like I got word like fire Downey, you know, and you can keep your job and stuff like that, which I would never do. And you know, yeah, take it easy. Just, you know, everything doesn't have to be a shock, you know. And I was like, nothing, almost nothing's a shock. Maybe we do one shock joke. Most of the, you know, and I think maybe the problem was with Update was a lot of jokes would hit silence, you know. And I think maybe, you know, the West Coast people were like, hey, well, Leno, you know, has wall-to-wall laughs for 15 minutes every night, you know, and we can't muster, you know, enough jokes to kill for once a week, you know. So I think that's what they were thinking, which I understand that.
How did you get fired? Like, what was it actually like? What was the process of getting fired? What was it about?
It was very odd. It was like, you know, no one would tell me. You know, I go, am I fired or what? Well, we don't know. You know, it doesn't look great or something. And so I didn't know why. I just wait, you know, till Saturday to see if I was hosting. So
did you still write Weekend Update before, like during that week?
Yeah, I thought we were still the host, and then. I was told to phone Don Ohlmeyer, who was the president of the network, which was really odd because we were talking about like a fire. He didn't even want to fire me from the show. He just Update, which was a 5-minute segment at midnight on a Saturday. So it's weird that I'm talking to the president of NBC. But yeah, I phoned him and I said, because this is what they told me. They said they liked me, but Ohlmeyer wanted me fired. So I said, yeah, I just want to make it clear. I just want to understand. So everybody here liked me, but you didn't. And he's like, is that what they're saying? He goes, I'll be the bad guy. I don't care. So he was intimating that other people wanted me gone too, you know. Which is probably, he had no reason to lie.
How did it feel? How did it feel? I mean, was it strange for you not to work on the show? Like, what was that first week like when you were not on the show?
Well, I couldn't do Update, but I was still on the show. So I said, I'm going to do something that destroys on the show. So I came up with a Quentin Tarantino impression. So we did a thing with Quentin Tarantino and Burt Reynolds, which I do both of them. We did that in the pre-tape, and then that killed, and I ignored Update, you know, and the first week, actually, and then, I'm sorry, but then I wanted out. I was like, okay, that's enough. You can fire me now, because it's too humiliating, you know. It's a big story in the paper that I'm not on Update. Now I have to be in sketches, and, you know, it's all self-conscious for everyone. And sure enough, like, I had to do one because he just wouldn't let me go. Don Ohlmeyer just would not let me leave the show with any dignity, you know. So I said, I just, after that, appeared in sketches like smoking and wearing my street clothes and never wearing makeup and stuff like that.
And then what was the first? So you basically said, and then, so what was that first week when you didn't work on the show? What was that like?
I don't remember it, but I remember being depressed, like that I couldn't go in because, like you say, you know, the Monday you phone the host, and then Tuesday, you know, you have a whole fun routine, you know, which I could have reverted back to and just ignored update, but I don't know, I felt like it was the perfect exit strategy, really.
What did you learn? What did you learn about comedy from Lorne? Did you feel you learned anything about comedy, or was it about learning what not to do, or what was it that? What do you think you learned?
Well, I did learn a lot from Lorne. I learned the biggest thing I learned from Lorne was that there's no money in, or there's no success in being what he called Michael O'Donoghue, like in being a comics comic. That's pointless because comics don't pay to see you, and that there's no shame in being a performer that's doing material that he feels, you shouldn't feel any material is beneath you. That's what I learned, but that's what I rejected. So I mean, I don't know. I guess I didn't learn that. But Lorne, he taught me like that you should never go after a private citizen and attack him with your comedy. He taught me that there's no gain in saying anything bad about a person, even if you don't like them. So he taught me things. He was kind of, people project him as a very cold person, but he's actually a very sweet human being that has more life lessons.